Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1. Okay, I think we're live on every single platform. I don't have my popper on, so I apologize for that. Might get a lot of popping from the microphone, so I'm gonna try to stand back from it a little bit. Thank you for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina. If you like my necklace, this is a combination of creativity, and I purchased the necklace from Joanne Hilton Diaz. Joanne Hilton. I purchased a necklace from her, custom. They put the 19 on it. 19 is my number. Um, in accordance to the way we read the Quran, over hell is 19 angels. That's a blessing and a curse. So my number is 19 because you're always being tested to see if you will do what God is telling you to do, stay on the path regardless as to who like it or who don't like it, and just walk on and just stand on the square every day of your life. So we on the square. My number is the number 19, always being tested, praying that I'm strong enough to uh be tough enough to stay with God. Today we're going to talk about sexually transmitted diseases. This won't take long, but I was talking to a friend of mine, Mr. Douglas McCrae. He called me weeks ago, actually, probably a month ago, about the statistics of sexually transmitted diseases in Richland County. In Richland County. Now, it has been estimated that the statistics say that we are number one in the nation in Richland County, number one in the nation, sexually transmitted diseases, number one, Richland County, South Carolina as a whole. And according to what I'm reading from the Department of DHEC right now, it is saying that we are number three. As I was talking to my friend today, you're talking about number three. The number one is a gold medal. Number two is a silver medal. Number three is a bronze medal. So we got a bronze medal in South Carolina in terms of sexually transmitted diseases. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I hope you will stay tuned. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. We're broadcasting live on 3 Facebook pages, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, as well as on Linked. This is a business matter because health is more important than wealth. We have to learn to take care of ourselves. We will be right back after this short intro. Please stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.
All right, we are back. Brother Johnny Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. I haven't been back on in a minute, but we're trying to get back on track. I thank you all for tuning in. This is a very serious topic today. I don't want to make it seem as if though it's a light topic. It's a very serious topic because of the sexual energy that has been in our communities, because our children are on a sexual uncontrollable rampage, if you will. Sex is just literally the answer to everything right now. Sex and drugs are literally the answer to everything right now. And my concern is that while we have a lot of programs teaching young girls about feminine products and feminine how to take care of your body, we're not doing that for the young men. So while you may see on the internet women's empowerment, this, women that, women this, women that, I'm a feminist, I'm this, I'm that. The dangers in that is that women are nurturing their little boys and raising their girls. So boys are being taken to church, are being hoping that that we can keep them away from guns and gangs and drugs. So we try to give them everything that we think they may need in order that they don't get involved with that type of life. And unfortunately, as I was reading statistically, churches are not talking about sex. Sex has become something taboo. Not that we're not engaging in sex, but we're not talking about sex. And when you're not talking about sex, I'm talking about all of the aspects of sex, the good, the bad, the ugly. Then you have 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old boys and girls who are experimenting with sex, who are uh, being contracting sexually transmitted diseases, but who are afraid to tell anyone that they have this disease. Even the adults will go around and ask someone if they have penicillin rather than go to a doctor and be diagnosed with having one of 10 or many sexually transmitted diseases. So that's where we are in 2022. Unfortunately, in the 90s, in South Carolina, in Manning, South Carolina in particular, and I don't believe that there should be a fight that does not include fighting your mind, fighting in your home, and fighting in your community, and fighting in your city, state, county, or wherever you live. When we take that outside of that, we're addressing a problem that we can never fix because it's such a big problem. So I believe we should start at home. So when I was called about the statistics in Richland County, and I want to read this for you because I believe we should always have proof of what we say. This is coming directly off of Carolina News Report. Richland County has high STD rates. And then it asks the questions why. Experts say it's complicated. I want to read a little bit of this first, then we're going to go into a little something else. But we have to address this issue of sexually transmitted diseases. So in the early 90s, late 90s, a lot of people were coming from the Florida area. And I don't believe that they brought disease here with the intentions of spreading it. But when you have sexual desires and you trying to fulfill those desires, playing with yourself is not going to be enough eventually. Either you're going to start having unprotected, reckless sex, or you're going to start having homosexual sex or something that spreads disease. So in the 90s, a lot of people came from Florida and they brought AIDS, HIV. And a lot of people across town, Sugar Hill and other areas, contracted HIV and AIDS. Rumor was going around that I had HIV, that I had AIDS. But let me tell you something about me. I believe that everything God takes us through is for us to go through, but to teach at the same time. So if I had AIDS, thank God I don't, if I had HIV, I would talk about it. I would warn people about it. That's how I'm built. But unfortunately, people were dying from AIDS, HIV across town, Sugar Hill and other, areas. And they were saying they were dying from complications from cancer. So all of the people who did not practice safe sex with these individuals contracted the AIDS, HIV in South Carolina. I'm talking about crosstown, all the way to Sugar Hill and other areas, Wilson and other areas, contracted AIDS, HIV, and didn't talk about it. So in our silence of the disease, we spread the disease. So a large percentage of people in Manning and Somerton and as it states, Richland County is number 3 in the nation of sexually transmitted diseases. A large amount of people, instead of saying, I contracted this disease, didn't say that. And still having a hunger for sex, whether it was protected or unprotected, we did it anyway. So we engaged in sex because we can't talk about sex. Are you clean? Have you been tested? Do you have any sexually transmitted diseases? We don't ask those questions. We just dive in because we're hungry for the feeling and the pleasure of sex. But this is the result of it. Richland County estimated from 1 to 3 in the nation of people infected with sexually transmitted diseases, but these are the people who are reporting it. Not to mention the people who are not reporting it. So we lost a lot of people to AIDS, HIV. And I want to say this. I watched a documentary on AIDS a few nights ago, and I posted it up. The advancements in the cure and the control of the HIV virus. At one time, we had to sit and watch our loved ones die because they could not, there was no pill, there was no cure. And then when the pill finally came out, the pill was $2,000 per pill. And no one could afford that. So we had to watch more people die, horrible deaths. And then now the pill is made affordable. So people can get the pill prescriptions every month, and Medicaid, Medicare pays for those with HIV to almost go undetected. That is a blessing from God, but you hide your status and see other people suffering from the disease. You know what the symptoms are, but you don't pull them to the side and say, look, you look like you are suffering from the symptoms of early onset of AIDS, HIV. We're talking about sexually transmitted diseases. Our ranking is number 3 in the nation. Estimated number 1 because of the people who are not reporting that they're suffering from disease. Now we're in a sex-crazed era where children as young as 8, 9, and 10 trying to stick their penis in something, trying to get something, unaware of the disease. You're talking mononucleosis, what they call kissing disease, all of these different diseases. And this is taboo. We don't want to talk about it because I got it and I don't want nobody to know I got it. I think that's selfish. You don't have to say it's you, but you can talk about the disease. So let me read this. It says Richland County has the 3rd highest rate of sexually transmitted diseases in the nation. And a local expert says the reason might be complex. And I told you about people not reporting it. People who don't even realize that they are actually suffering from the disease. What are the 10 most common STDs that we are suffering from that we don't get medical attention for? Chlamydia, some of these I may not be able to pronounce correctly. Chlamydia, HIV, AIDS, and HIV is what you contract before you get full-blown AIDS. But if HIV goes undetected or not undetected, if HIV goes untreated, it could develop into full-blown AIDS, gonorrhea, HPV, syphilis, herpes 1 and 2. This one, trichomoniasis, mycoplasma genitalium or MG, and genital public lice are what we call crabs. When I was at Morris College in Sumter, there was an outbreak of crabs in the female dorm that they had to move all of the women out and fumigate. These are college students who don't know there's something crawling around in their pubic hairs. It says actually plus 30 different bacteria can be transmitted through sexual contact, 30. Being 8 of these pathogens, the ones which are linked to the majority of sexually transmitted diseases. These 8 diseases can be divided between curable, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomoniasis, and non-curable. Non-curable is the hepatitis B, herpes simplex virus, HSV or herpes, HIV, and human papilloma or HPV. These viruses are spreading throughout our communities. And sex is being pushed You got 30 and 40-year-old women, rappers, showing their boobs, showing their behind, pushing the sexual agenda. And because we are not addressing the sexual agenda, because, I mean, how can sex be nasty when you got 8 children? Ew, that's nasty. How can it be? How can you not talk to people about sex? The females are doing all of these female empowerment programs, but we are not holding we're not taking on the responsibility as men to see to it that young boys are taught about sex. I mean, raw teaching, because they're seeing it all on the internet. They're masturbating and doing all this fantasizing, but they're becoming sexual addicts, nymphomaniacs, and haven't even indulged in sex yet. And what that ends up doing is it makes you look for something more exciting in sex. So most people now are saying, I'm a homosexual. You're not. You're just not excited about sex, so you want to do something that's abnormal. Some people are having sex with their animals. Some people got to have threesomes and foursomes and all of these other things before sex is explained. I want you to think about this very well. Number 3, possibly number 1, Richland County, South Carolina, and South Carolina as a whole, in the nation for sexually transmitted diseases. And today, the ladies are acting like the men, so the ladies are calling men to come over and have sex with them. Raw, no contraception, no nothing. It's the new thing. They're getting pregnant like it's a fad. It's the new thing. We have a moral responsibility. We are obligated. Because the one thing about syphilis and untreated sexual diseases is that they cause mental issues. Syphilis erodes the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord. It drives us insane. It causes dementia. It causes psychosis untreated. Any infection in the body. I have a loved one who has dementia, but when they have an infection, the dementia turns into paranoia. And they become very disrespectful, very angry. So we have a moral obligation, not just to young girls, because unfortunately our women now are on a power trip. They're actually feminists. I don't know when we had to become feminists or malinist or what is female and male? Yeah, malinist. But we are literally in competition. How can a family divided do anything? Dale Castro posted up today about mending fences with family. How can a family divided address issues? So the woman is trying to take the top spot. The man is trying to maintain his spot. And in the middle are the children who are not being educated. We have a moral obligation. Most of our children, once they are penetrated by a penis or once they get the feel of a vagina, it's going to change their mind. And a child that you thought you knew won't be the same because now they're chasing that feeling. I learned about it in masturbation, the worst way. Nobody taught me sex. I learned about it in magazines, the worst way. So most of the stuff that I saw in magazines, there's no woman that could do it with me like that, like what I saw. The same with most of our children. We have so many different sexually transmitted diseases. Some of the most common STD symptoms in females may include itchiness, lumps and bumps. When you're HIV positive, you suffer from a lot of non-cancerous lumps and bumps that have to be operated on, lymph nodes, swelling. It's an infection. When you're infected, that's what happens. Changes in vaginal discharge or the smell of the vagina, or pain in the area, pelvic pain, which could lead to cancer and other things, pain in the infections in the breast, wherever fatty tissue is. Some of the common STD symptoms in males may include unusual discharge from the penis, lumps or bumps on the genital area, sores or ulcers in the genital area, burning or pain during urination, pain in the abdomen, pain during sex, or pain in the testicles. These type of things we must begin to tell young boys. Regardless as to what they think they know about sex, masturbating and getting a feeling from sex don't mean you understand sex. So Richland County, number 3, possibly number 1 because of the uncounted cases. We must, as men, take on the responsibility of educating our young boys. I'm sorry about that. My phone started ringing already, unfortunately. I wasn't going to be on long, and I'm not going to be on long, but I wanted to do that, and let me X out of that. I wanted to share this with you real quick. I'm going to put this on the screen if I can. The last stages of syphilis, I was telling you about it, how it destroys the nervous system. The final stages of syphilis, about 25% of people with latent syphilis will experience the more serious damages. That means you got it and it's lingering and you don't know you have it, and you don't go to the doctor to tell them I'm having nerve issues, I'm having brain fog, So a lot of these young people who are committing crimes and trying to smoke their way to health, and that's what's happening. Marijuana, they're trying to smoke their way to health. And it's not going to work. About 25% of people with latent syphilis will experience the more serious damages. They include the internal organs, the brain, the heart, nerves, eyes, livers, bone, joints, and blood vessels are possible damages that can be done to these organs. Difficulty with coordinating muscle movement, numbness, paralysis, gradual blindness, and dementia because of syphilis. Curable, but damages can be repaired and it can lead to death. This is what we're dealing with right now. I don't know how to say it dramatic enough for us to look at it as dramatic as it is, for us to be number 3. In South Carolina, we are above Los Angeles, above New York, above DC. Number 3 in sexually transmitted diseases. I want to read something real quick, biblical text, then I'm going to close out with a few words because I didn't want to stay on long. I'm not going to babble. I thank you for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. I thought I had my Cash App and stuff up, but I didn't. I want to read something from Leviticus 26 and 21, 25, 21. It says, then if you walk contrary to me and will not listen to me, I will continue striking you sevenfold for your sins. When God puts a person in a position to teach you something, to tell you something, if you have an issue with that person, look beyond that. Look beyond whatever unjustifiable issue that you have with me, Jamil. And listen to when I talk to you about community issues, family issues, or things like that, the reason I come on periodically is because I'm not on to ramble. I talk when God says to talk, and God is talking right now. What happens if a person has cancer and is untreated? They die. What happens if there's cancerous behavior in a community that goes unchecked? You destroy a community. Communities are destroyed in DC and Philly. What happens to a body of people when disease is spreading through the community, but we're too private and I don't snitch, too private to talk about sexually transmitted diseases and educate our children to that. It's not just drugs and music that is destroying our children. They're addicted to feeling good. And sex is a part of that. And as I told you before in another broadcast, young girls wear short skirts so they can bend over with no drawers. They will get screwed in a club. That's exciting because they've seen everything. Nothing excites them. What excites them is having you as a best friend and taking your boyfriend and having sex with him and then still being your best friend because it's exciting. Listen to our children. I'm bored. I'm bored. When they're bored, an idle mind. Oh, there go her boyfriend right there. I'm going to get that. Raw, no protection. And disease spreads and spreads and spreads. My point being, if you stay private and we don't begin to hold ourselves accountable, we're going to have to deal with the backlash of that. Numbers 16 and 49. Now those who died in the plagues were 14,700, besides those who died in the affair of Korah. This is in the Bible, talking about plagues. My point, we are under divine plague. And there is no one, no drug, no political position, no ministerial position that can save us from that. Addressing the issue under God's banner is what will save us from that. And listening to the people who's been given the knowledge. It's all through the Bible. Nobody likes who God gives the knowledge. But God rarely gives the knowledge to an educated person. They're educated. The world has trained them. They're necessary. They really are. Thank God for the educated doctors who perform surgery on me and on you and your loved ones. We need them. But at the same time, we need proper spiritual guidance from someone who receives the knowledge and gives it to the people in the proper way. Richland County, number 3, possibly number 1. Now I want to close with this. On yesterday, it came across the news that 5 people were killed in North Carolina, the capital city. Today, the headlines reads in ABC News: police, teen kills 2 in neighborhood, 3 more along Greenway. A teen, a 15-year-old boy, fatally shot 2 people in the streets of a nice neighborhood in North Carolina, then fled toward a walking trail where he killed 3 more people and wounded 2 others. I think he killed a police officer as well. We talked about how the young will begin to, because they're indoctrinated from birth. You don't watch the music, you don't watch what they watch on television. You don't, none of that. And for some reason, they have access to guns. We're going to have to begin to address these issues. As I told you before, as a 52-year-old, I don't put anything past anyone. If you 8 or 9 and you point a gun at me and I have one, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. Now, later on, you're going to say that's wrong for him to kill a little boy, but that little boy is no longer a little boy. We're in an era of time where children are being forced to grow up too fast and missing childhood. And if we don't gather ourselves as adults, and the adults who miss childhood are now acting like little children. More people are walking around in their 60s and 70s smelling like marijuana than the young people. I've come to a point with this, and I'm going to take this into another broadcast. But the purpose of all of this was to get us addicted to something. Cigarettes, marijuana, cigars, liquor, vape. That was the purpose. The next thing is to open up organizations that'll get paid to get you off of the drug they got you addicted to. And then to tax the drugs. They got a senator running right now who wants to legalize drugs in South Carolina so they can be taxed. So that means all of you out there selling drugs that's not legal can be arrested for tax evasion. 15 years old, naive in life, sex, behavior, all of these things. Then they tell you your child is crazy, give them another drug. Give them something to calm them down, and they want it. Drugs, music, alcohol, television influence have all changed the dynamic of our children. And it's not going to matter to you until you realize that in your perfect world, it's imperfect. So if it's not happening to us, we could care less until it's happening to us. Then we want to be an advocate. But you're fighting with the wrong intentions. You should have been fighting because it's a problem, not because it's your problem now. So we need men. We need to get together in Manning, South Carolina. Don't look like nobody else is going to do it. I do commend some of the churches. I know Reverend Windley out of Manning always has a manhood training week or month or day. I know that he's always been a part, Reverend Windley, a part of going into the system and talking to young Black men. I know that. He's to be commended for that. He's getting older. He's older. Someone has to take up the baton with new ideas. We got to try to get the young. South Carolina, Richland County ranked number 3. We got a bronze medal in sexually transmitted diseases. We are on the stage with the gold medal, as me and my partner were just talking. We're standing on the stage with the gold and the silver medal winners. We got the bronze medal in sexually transmitted diseases. I thank you all for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir. Let me make sure I got everything before I leave. You know, you come right back on. Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't want to forget. You know, I'm running 4 screens. So let me get this out of the way. Okay, yeah. I think we got it all. I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you will like and share this. I know it's not what you want to hear. I know, unfortunately, for the older ones, all we want is good news because we're tired of bad news. But let me tell you something. You don't have to acknowledge the fact that you got a headache until you have a stroke. You don't have to acknowledge the fact that your back is hurting until you find out you got pancreatic cancer. You don't have to acknowledge that your foot is hurting until they got to cut it off. That's on you. But in a time of peace, we prepare for war. The wise do. In a time for peace, if you want to party, that's on you. I thank you for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir, Manning, South Carolina. We are going. Please stay tuned. We will be coming back on very soon. I promise.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month's installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong. Took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone. And then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone. Solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one. Right to left counted, 9 and then 1. Left to right, switch it, 1 and then 9. West to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.
Thank you. Amanda.